What if I told you that the way your brain works is not a disorder, but a different kind of brilliance? Have you ever felt like your brain just works differently? Like you don't quite fit into the mold everyone else seems to be comfortable in? Here's the truth they never told you. Being neurodivergent doesn't mean you're broken. It means your brain is wired in a way that sees, processes, and creates differently. And that difference, it's powerful. In this video, we're breaking down the myths, unpacking the science, and spotlighting the beauty of neurodivergent minds. From ADHD to autism to dyslexia and more. Whether you felt misunderstood your whole life or you're trying to understand someone who has, this video is for you. Let's delve in. This is part 1 of 2 videos that I will be making. Part 1, we're going to discuss the history of neurodivergence and the different types of neurodivergence. In part 2, we're going to discuss identifying neurodivergence and what it's like. Neurodivergence is the term for when someone's brain processes, learns, and behaves differently from what is considered typical. Formerly considered a problem or abnormal, scientists now understand that neurodivergence isn't inherently an issue for the individual, and that it has a large societal benefit. Not all presentations of neurodivergence are a disability, but all are a difference in how the brain works. With this shift, practitioners and behaviorists are no longer treating neurodivergence as inherently an illness. They are instead viewing them as different methods of learning and processing information, some of which become disabilities in an inaccessible and albeit society. Neurodiversity is the concept that there are a variety of ways that people's brains process information, function, and present behaviorally. Rather than thinking there is something wrong or problematic when some people don't operate similarly to others, neurodiversity embraces all differences. The concept of neurodiversity recognizes that both brain function and behavioral traits are simply indicators of how diverse the human population is. The idea of neurodiversity also seeks to frame these differences as ones that are not inherently bad or a problem. Instead, it treats them in a more neutral manner and also highlights the many different ways that neurodivergence should be celebrated and how it can be beneficial. Let's take a look at the history of neurodivergence. The term neurodiversity was coined by sociologist Judy Singer, who is autistic, in 1997. Neurodiversity can be broken down into two categories of people: those who are neurotypical and those who are neurodivergent. Neurotypical people may have no idea they are because the subject has likely never come up for them before. These people usually hit all of their developmental and behavioral milestones at the same times and ages that are considered standard for most people. Once they're grown, they generally move through life without having to wonder if their brains function in the same way as others do. Neurodivergence is the term for people whose brains function differently in one or more ways than is considered standard or typical. There are many different ways that neurodivergence manifests, ranging from very mild ways that most people would never notice to more obvious ways that lead to a person behaving differently than is standard in our society. Like the umbrella term neurodiversity, the word neurodivergent is also coined by sociologist Judy Singer. While originally used to refer specifically to people who are autistic, usage of the term has broadened significantly in the years since. Neurodivergence now refers to any structured, consistent way that brains work differently for a group of people than they do for the majority of others. Now let's look at the different types of neurodivergence. Because the idea of neurodivergence has grown to encompass a range of consistent ways that some brains work differently than others, it shouldn't be surprising to learn that there are many different ways neurodivergent manifests. You may not have heard of all the different types, but chances are you're familiar with some. Here are some of the most common examples. Autism. Autism is known as a spectrum disorder because autistic people range in what autistic traits they have. How these traits present and their support needs. It previously had many subtypes, such as Asperger's and pervasive developmental disorder, but now they are all classified as an autism spectrum disorder. The term Asperger's is also no longer accepted in the autistic community due to its origination from the Nazi scientists for use in the field of eugenics. Autism is a broad set of conditions that may include challenges with socializing and social skills, repetitive behaviors, and speech difficulties that can lead people to communicate via alternative, augmentative communication, like writing, typing, or sign language instead of verbally. Autistic people generally think, process their senses, move, communicate, and socialize in a consistent range of ways that differ from non-autistic people. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is an executive function dysregulation disorder, which means individuals may have difficulties managing their thoughts, attention, behaviors, and emotions. People with ADHD may have difficulty with organization, be restless, seem disinterested or zoned out, and show inappropriate behavior when experiencing strong emotions. Thanks to their out-of-the-box thinking, people with the ADHD are often great problem solvers. They may be energetic and fun and are often sensitive to others. Dyslexia. This form of neurodivergence involves speaking, reading, and writing. Dyslexia is typically associated with misreading, writing, or speaking words or letters out of order. But it encompasses more than that. For example, it may involve confusion with certain letters, difficulty organizing words into sentences, trouble acquiring a vocabulary or pronouncing words, and challenges following directions. People with dyslexia are often big picture thinkers who excel at visual processing. In addition, they tend to have strong spatial awareness and may be very creative. Other types of neurodivergence include Tourette's, synesthesia, dyscalculia, Down syndrome, epilepsy, and chronic mental health illnesses such as bipolar disorder. Obsessive compulsive disorder, borderline personality disorder, anxiety, and depression. Being neurodivergent means you bring something incredibly valuable to the table. Something the world needs more of. We will see you in the second part of this video. Thank you.